What's going on, guys? Farzine Vasugan here with you for a Red Friday live chat. Yes, week 2. Sorry about that. Okay, there we go. That is better. Okay. Now we are rocking and rolling. I think we have people coming into the live chat. Yes, we do. That is what we want. All right. Happy Red Friday to all of you. It is Red Friday indeed. Hopefully my internet does not crash. It's been a not so great day for the good old Wi-Fi. So hopefully we can hopefully the Wi-Fi will cooperate tonight. That is that's my one wish for this live stream tonight is for that. So all right, you guys know how this works. I see more and more of you guys are coming into the live chat, so much appreciated. Hey, this is all about you guys. That's what the Red Friday live chat is about each and every single Red Friday. What is on your guys' mind? What questions do you have? What do you want to talk about? We can go out of bounds a little bit if we want. Sometimes, hey, look, we go through some rabbit holes and we end up talking about whatever. So let me know what you want to hear. What do you want to talk about? Obviously, the Chiefs playing the Jaguars this week for week 2, looking for their first win of the season. I think the one thing, and I didn't mention this on the podcast on Wednesday, Kadarius Toney said something interesting. He said that there was a lack of focus that played a role in the wide receiver drops. I think my only concern with that is, lack of focus in week 1 is not the most encouraging thing to hear. Lack of focus in general is bad. I don't think there's ever a good week for a lack of focus, but to start off the season with that, I don't know. I have a feeling the PR staff might have said, hey, next time don't say that kind of thing in a week 1 press conference or following week 1. I don't know. I just think the optics of that is it's just not good. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but nonetheless, I see you guys. Heather, Kay, Kel says stick to sports. Yeah, sure, why not? He's kidding though. In his next comment, he said he was kidding. All right, like I said, I see more and more of you guys are coming into the live chat, watching on Facebook and on YouTube. Guys, this is not going up on the podcast. This is exclusively for Facebook and for YouTube. So appreciate those of you who are joining me here live. This is all about you guys. So whatever you want to talk about, whatever questions you have, comments, you want to vent, this is your safe space to do it. This is what the Red Friday live chat is all about. Let me know what questions you guys have. What do you want to talk about? And we'll get started. Kay is asking, is Chris Jones going to play on Sunday? Yes, he is expected to play. I don't think he was on today's injury report. Travis Kelce and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are the two guys who are questionable. Travis Kelce should play unless he has a really strange setback within the next 36 to 40 hours. He is expected to play. So Chris Jones will be playing on Sunday. I will say the Jaguars did get their interior offensive lineman back. I don't have their names right in front of me. You might want to pull up the injury report just to double check on all of that. But they do have their interior offensive line coming back for Sunday's game. They did not practice on Wednesday, and there were some concerns at one point, and people thought, Chris Jones picking this week of all weeks to come back could have been a jackpot for him. He could have gotten off to a great start trying to achieve those incentives, but for the end of the year, still has a good chance of getting them. I mean, you can never doubt Chris Jones, no matter who he's going up against. His participation in Friday was limited, as was L'Jarius Sneed, but L'Jarius Sneed and Chris Jones are expected to play. Kelce and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are questionable. I think the Clyde Edwards-Helaire one is interesting because he did not practice Wednesday. He was sick. Thursday, he was a full participant. And then Friday, he did not practice because he was sick again. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Hopefully they can figure that out. Hopefully he's taking the time he needs to get back. But I'm already seeing some of the complaints out there. Nick Bolton did not practice today, but that was for personal reasons, not injury related. If you see the NIR on the injury report, that stands for not injury related. Has a personal matter, but he is expected to play on Sunday. Yeah, the two offensive linemen I was talking about are Luke Fortner and Brandon Scherf, the right guard in the center. Scherf is the right guard. Fortner is the center. They both had ankle injuries. Neither one of them practiced on Wednesday. Both were limited on Thursday and Friday. They're listed as questionable on the injury report, but Doug Peterson, he said earlier today that they are playing. So you can definitely expect those guys to play on Sunday when the Chiefs go and visit Jacksonville. How about those hypocritical Bengals fans? Yeah, they keep blocking you. Oh no. I guess they got to block someone since their players couldn't block on Sunday. Hey-o! Bengals fans don't like it when you call them out on their hypocrisy. Imagine that. It's funny because Tyler Boyd did the whole woulda, coulda, shoulda thing to Odell Beckham Jr. because he thought he would have had a big Super Bowl. And then because he got injured in that game and had to leave early. And then Tyler Boyd said he would have had a great game if he would have played the entire game against the Chiefs. Like, okay, come on, buddy. But yeah, shout outs to the Bengals fans. It's funny, Bengals fans always do the whole like rent free, but who are the ones coming on my page? It's Bengals fans. So who's really, doing the whole rent free thinking there? It's funny though. Shout out to Bengals fans. All love, man. All love to all of them. Brad, Travis and Jones, they're both listed. Jones is not questionable. Travis Kelce is. I was a little surprised by that, but Andy Reid was talking as if he's going to play. The sentiment was he will play as long as he does not have any major setbacks. So means he's going to play. Something would have to terribly go wrong in the next 40 hours for that to not be the case. Casey asks, what do you think went wrong with our offense last week? Well, Sky Moore says it was a lack of focus. That's not a good thing for week one. I just said that a moment ago. I think the other part of it too is just, when Dwayne Bowe was here in Kansas City, and I thought Dwayne Bowe was a good receiver. He obviously put his mark in the Chiefs record books in some areas in the receiving department, but he dealt with a lot of drops. And there was, I think, the most significant, the most, I don't want to use the word memorable, but the one people remember the most in 2008 was the onside kick when the Chargers were rallying to come back against the Chiefs. He's on the hands team. They're calling it the hands team. So statistically, it's not a drop, but the onside kick went right between his hands and chest and just slipped right out. Man, it's just wild. Just went right back to the Chargers. So you guys remember that one? I don't know. A lot of people weren't watching the Chiefs that year, that's for sure. And I don't blame them. They were terrible that year. Although Tyler Thigpen and Jamal Charles, they were some of the very few bright spots on the team that year. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. The point I'm trying to make with Dwayne Bowe is he had his drops for a very long time, and the talk then became, is this a guy that's thinking about the yards after the catch? Because when you're wide open like that and you drop a pass, that's frustrating. It's always frustrating when you drop a pass. The pick six for Darius Toney, he wasn't wide open, but it's not like there was anyone there to break up the pass. It's not like there was any reason for him to break that, to drop that. He just lack of focus, kind of like what Sky Moore was saying. But I think a lot of times these receivers, they know that they're in wide open space and they think about running and getting all the yak right there in those situations. Listen, Travis Kelce was asked the week of the Super Bowl last year by the media. Somebody asked him, how do you get wide open so much? And he goes, Andy Reid, baby. That was his answer. That's it. He didn't even elaborate on any more than that. Andy Reid does a great job with players he has on his offense. You could be the worst receiver in the NFL, but Andy Reid will find a way to utilize you and have you hit your ceiling, or maybe even go above it in ways you did not think this player would be able to do before. you look at Kadarius. I mean, Kadarius Toney was not used very well in New York. He comes to Kansas City and he picked up the offense real fast. Brett Veach even said in the offseason, this is a guy that picked up the offense really quickly. Josh Gordon, a lot of people were hoping Josh Gordon could have returned to his old form here in Kansas City, especially with Andy Reid's offense. Josh Gordon could not pick this offense up. He took forever. They cut him last year after the preseason. Kadarius Toney comes in mid-season. And it's like he was with the team all offseason. Now you have a full offseason. What can you do? Well, so far, not so good. But, you know, obviously one game is not going to dictate the entire season, although a bad start or a good start can help set the tone for a season. I certainly won't shy away from that. But I do think that at the end of the day, you know, work on the two hands, catching the ball. Because going back to the question, what do you think went wrong with the offense last week? That was a winnable game without Travis Kelce and Chris Jones. Anyone that watched that game from start to finish knows the defense played way better than I think everybody thought it was going to be a high scoring game. I did. I thought both teams were going to at least score in the 30s. Neither one of them did, oddly enough. So as far as the Chiefs side of things, it's not like Chris Jones, could he have maybe changed some things? Yeah, of course. But was he the gatekeeper for the defense's success last week? No, not at all. Neither was Travis Kelce on the offensive side of the football. If Travis Kelce was available, could he have helped? Yeah, of course. But was that the reason for the loss? No. Even with the pick six, even with everything, that offense right there, I mean, they had the right game plan. It's just, you know, drops are going to kill you at the end of the day. And it sucks because the coaches have to, you know, think twice about certain things. The quarterback then, you know, you lose a little bit of confidence. Obviously, you're not going to say it publicly. Mahomes will always take blame for a loss and then give credit to everyone after a win. It's always, you know, it's nice to see that kind of leadership. But man, you just catch the ball. I said this earlier. I don't have a football with me. The only football I have is the Super Bowl. I don't know. The mirror camera does not work very well. It's behind my head. So this little mic cover here is going to be my football. Tony Gonzalez, before every game, before putting on the pads and helmet and everything, he would do his pregame warm-ups without the pads and all that. I was always impressed with how he would secure the football. He would catch the pass and then immediately tuck it between his arm and his chest. And obviously, you know, his logic right there is secure the football first, which, you know, was not a surprise. I don't know exactly what the number is for Tony Gonzalez's career, but he did not have a whole lot of drop. If Tony Gonzalez had a drop, man, it was easy to forget because he hardly had any, and he always had a lot of great plays to cover up for any of the bad plays he had. Rarely he had bad plays. So, you know, the whole like tucking and all of that, I'm sure it's been addressed. Listen, Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, your head coach and your offensive coordinator, I would never want to go against those guys. I would rather have those coaches on my side than be against them. I'm sure the Chiefs have addressed that in the last, or not the last 10 days, but in this 10-day window that they have. Obviously, today's the last day. Tomorrow, I think they do a brief walkthrough, and then they travel to Jacksonville. So, you know, at this point, it's addressed. It's done. So I think the receivers know what's expected out of them moving forward. Is Dwayne Brown for the Jets the equivalent to Orlando Brown Jr.? Maybe it is a Brown thing. I'm not going to lie, Eric, I did not even notice the whole Brown part. Yeah, I don't know, man. There was some bad offensive line play last week. I don't know, man. Orlando Brown. By the way, I mentioned this on the podcast with Pro Football Focus, but I mean, there's no way in hell he allowed just one pass rush. I looked at Pro Football Focus for the Chiefs side. According to Pro Football Focus, the Chiefs only had 3 drops. Okay, even if that pick 6 is not considered a drop, how many of you guys still think even without the pick 6, the Chiefs only had 3? Apparently, Sky Moore did not have a drop. I mean, come on. It sucks because I liked Pro Football Focus a lot when I first started using it back in 2014. That was my first year out of college. And I remember my last year of college, someone was telling me about PFF, and I started to do some research on it. I thought, man, this might be worth looking into. It was an awesome source. a lot of teams would use PFF, and now I don't really know how. Travis Kelce said on his podcast with his brother that a lot of agents are paying PFF to kind of adjust those, which sucks because, you know, that's a website, one of the very few websites that has those premium stats. And now you're just not sure, is this a reliable source now? Because they talk about pass coverage grades among linebackers. You know, they rank linebackers in that category. Which quarterbacks are the best against the run? You know, those kinds of things that you don't really think about too much because generally you don't think about defensive backs against the run. But they have a ranking for that. The best pass blocking wide receivers. They have a ranking system for that. You know, how do you even trust that kind of thing moving forward? I don't know. Losing last week stung, but hey, we lost our first game last year to the Colts. Yeah, our first loss was to the Colts. Yeah, listen, every team has a game they shouldn't lose. You look at the two Super Bowl teams last year, the Chiefs and the Eagles. The Chiefs lost to the Colts, as you just mentioned, David, and the Eagles lost to the Commanders, a team that finished below. Both of those teams, the Colts and the Commanders, finished below 500. So yeah, you know, even the best teams lose a game they shouldn't lose once or twice a season. You know, that all happens. Been following you for a while now. I just want to say your name is crazy. It is Perry Crawford. It is Perry Crawford. Thank you. That is the best compliment I can receive about my name. You know, early on, like in school, it's like, you know, your name's Farzine and everyone else's name is Michael or Bob or something boring as hell like that. No disrespect to anyone named Michael and Bob. All the Michael and Bobs are going to cancel me now because I said that. But then over a while, I'm like, you know, I like being different. I like being unique. For all you young kids out there, be weird, be different. Don't be too weird. It's a little much. No moves on adding wide receivers, Brad. Still the same 7 for now. They didn't have Chiefsaholic in the stands yet. This is a good point. This is the Chiefs' first loss without Chiefsaholic in the stands. I remember there was a thing because what was his last game? Was it the Bengals game in Cincinnati? I think that was the last game Chiefsaholic attended a game. And that's, you know, that week is when he got arrested. I was just talking to someone about this the other day. It is one of the more wild stories in sports. Like it's not related to the actual sport, but it is a sports story. I mean, it just is. Yeah, I think so too, Eric. Chiefs beat them a couple times last year. They're a much better team than a lot of people give them credit for. And I know they were not the most exciting team to talk about because they did get to that very slow start. Listen, I've always been a big fan of Doug Peterson. I think he did a tremendous job in Kansas City when they had that 1-5 start. Andy Reid handed off play calling duties to Doug Peterson, and they just went off winning 10 in a row in the regular season. They extended it into the postseason, winning 11 in a row. And you know, they got their first playoff win in 22 years. The same year they started 1-5. And I think Doug Peterson did a lot with that. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles as his quarterback in the playoffs, and they were underdogs in every single game. By the way, every year in the playoffs, I think like the most annoying question I get from listeners is, who would you rather play in the playoffs? Like, what does that mean? Here's a worse question I get every year in the playoffs. Trust me, it's gonna come again this year in the playoffs. The question is, who's easier to play in the AFC Championship game? Who's easier to play in the Super Bowl? It's like, well, if they're in the Super Bowl or if they're in the playoffs in general, unless they're division winners from a really bad division finishing below 500, I don't know if there's such thing as an easy team to play in the playoffs. Look at the Giants. Both times when they beat the Patriots. With Eli Manning. Everyone viewed the Giants as the easy team that year. Look at the Eagles when they had Nick Foles. They were the heavy underdogs in all of those games, and they were viewed as the easy team to want to play in the playoffs. And obviously, you lose. Everyone lost to the Eagles that played them in the playoffs that year. So, Brad's asking, you think Bieniemy gone is affecting play calling? this is hard to answer because there's this big mystery about, who really did call the plays. Well, I don't know, but in between plays, when the Chiefs had the ball, you would sometimes see Andy Reid, you would sometimes see Eric Bieniemy on TV. The cameras would put them on the screen, and Eric Bieniemy is covering his mouth with a play sheet. I mean, if you're not calling plays, what are you doing talking that much in between plays? And here's the weird part. Whenever things were going wrong with the Chiefs offense, everyone blamed Eric Bieniemy. But when things were working, Andy Reid's a genius. Patrick Mahomes is awesome. Travis Kelce is the tight end GOAT. It's like, wait a minute. This makes no sense. How is it that everyone except for EB gets all the credit, and then EB, things are not working? It's his fault. I don't know, man. I know this was brought up immediately after the game. I did not have good Wi-Fi at the stadium. So when I got back to my car, and I was in that lovely Arrowhead traffic, so I was on my phone just reading through the comments. I was really shocked at how many people already start up the conversation about Bieniemy and Nagy. Listen, it's a week one overreaction, right? So you're going to get a lot of those. But I think ultimately, that is way too early to even tell right now. I like Matt Nagy. I know a lot of Bears fans were saying, oh, he was horrible. He was a horrible play call. Yeah, when he was the head coach. I don't care what he did as the head coach of the Bears. I care about what he's done in the past as an offensive coordinator. And in Kansas City, he was a great offensive coordinator in the 2 years when he replaced Doug Peterson. So I have a lot of confidence in Matt Nagy. I definitely think that he and Patrick Mahomes have a better connection. You see them hanging out a lot off the field. I know a lot of people made a big deal about that when Eric Bieniemy was still here in Kansas City, but yeah. By the way, I'm going to skip a couple of questions here. I'll get back to the other one, but someone's asking, what were your thoughts on D'Adrian Harding on the D'Adrian Harding video with Mahomes and Nagy? So for those of you who don't know, Mahomes and Nagy, they attend a few Blue Valley West games. I did not realize this until recently. Matt Nagy, his son, is the quarterback for Blue Valley West. That's actually where I went to high school. So Mahomes and Nagy have been spotted a couple of times in the last couple of years, this year and last year, at Blue Valley West football games, which makes a lot of sense because I remember last year, I think they were at the Blue Valley West and Blue Valley Southwest game. Okay, so for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about with this D'Adrian Harding video, D'Adrian Harding, I did not know who he was, but he is a famous YouTuber from Wichita. I'm sorry, the only YouTube videos I really watch a lot of are like podcasts. So these like YouTube pranksters, I don't pay too much attention to this stuff. I'm sorry. People took offense when I said apparently he's famous. Anyway, he shows up to the Blue Valley West and Blue Valley North football game, and he just goes to the sidelines. Listen, it's not Arrowhead Stadium per se, but there's still some tight security at these high school football games. I covered a lot of them back in the day. So to see him just walk right on through, he had a cameraman with him because all these YouTubers, they pay a camera guy to follow them around. So they kind of made it look like they were media. By the way, the guy is wearing Crocs. I think that's what they're called, Crocs. I remember them in like the early 2000s, how popular and comfortable they are. The guy is wearing different color Crocs. A little weird, but you do you, I guess. Anyway, he actually gets word that Patrick Mahomes is there. By the way, all the kids know who he is. They all want pictures with him. So he actually goes, and I don't know who these people are. Whoever these administrators are, they were not the administrators when I was at Blue Valley West. But they are in his face saying, dude, you got to go. And one of the administrators is actually like raising his voice. He's pretty upset. Anyway, they're shouting at Patrick, and then Brittany, Patrick, and Matt Nagy all turn around and look at this guy. Brittany looks annoyed as fuck. Patrick's laughing. He actually thinks the situation is funny, but then he learns to like ignore the whole thing. And so does Matt Nagy. Look, with things that happen with school shootings and whatnot, I know there are a lot of D'Adrian Harding stands out there that are like, oh, it's just a joke. It was a prank. Yeah, but the administrators don't know that. Their job is to make that area a safe space for Mahomes and Brittany. I know Brittany has said on her Q&A, the Q&A she does, she says that they have bodyguards. I didn't see them there. They took a very long time to show up. Adrian Harding even said it himself. He's like, wait a minute, there's a super good quarterback here, and security is taking forever to show up, which I thought that was actually funny. Anyway, look, there was a YouTuber, I'm getting off topic here, but there was a YouTuber that got shot several months ago doing a prank at a mall. I know these YouTube pranksters, one of the popular spots is to go to malls and do their pranks and mess with people. Man, you mess with the wrong person, or if someone's in a bad mood, they don't know who the hell you are. They don't want to listen. I don't want strangers coming up to me and talking to me and saying weird things that I don't care about. You mess with the wrong person, man, that's just going to happen because, yeah, what are they supposed to think? So, it's like, dude, what do you expect to happen? I'm not saying I hope this happens, but I'm kind of surprised it doesn't happen more often. But thankfully it doesn't happen often. Yeah, they're just pranking people, sure. I actually did a little bit of research on this last night when I saw this video. There's another guy who does some similar stuff. I don't remember the guy's name, but he was going to a Miami soccer game where Messi plays, and he's trolling people saying Ronaldo's the best. He's better than Messi. It's like, okay. And in the middle of his video, he actually was sponsored by like some betting website to go to the stadium front row and just mess with people and just give them a shout out. It's like, there's a market for it. A rich rookie QB and the Colts nearly beat them. Yeah. A rich rookie QB and the Colts nearly beat. Oh, you're talking about the Colts and the Jags last week. Yeah, listen, Eric, let me just say this, because a lot of Chiefs haters last year during the season kept commenting, "Oh, you barely beat the Raiders. You beat them by 1. You barely beat the Broncos in both games. You barely beat the Texans. You barely beat the Titans with their backup quarterback." Yes, the Chiefs had some very narrow victories against some not so great teams, some really shitty teams, actually. Let's just be frank about it. How did that pan out in the end? The Chiefs still won the Super Bowl. A lot of people who hate on the Chiefs, they were using those narrow victories as like fuel to like basically hope that other teams would use those games to kind of figure out a crack in the Chiefs system. Never happened, man. And keep in mind, Mahomes had a bad ankle all postseason, unless you believe in conspiracy theories and you think it was a fake injury. Kay says, how many good seasons do you think Clyde Edwards-Helaire has left? Listen, his yard per carry average isn't horrible. It's actually solid. But for a first-round pick, you want more production out of your running back. And you want more dominance, too, which is kind of why a lot of people were shocked when the Chiefs took him in the first round. And by the way, he played a lot of snaps last week. I was very surprised about that. That was probably the most surprising thing to me about last week. I don't know if they're still a little hesitant with Isaiah Pacheco coming back from his injury, because he didn't play a whole lot in that preseason finale. So I don't know. I hope Pacheco plays a lot more. I said last offseason, I said if we can get a Pacheco and a McKinnon duo consistently on the field, I think good things are going to happen. That's exactly what happened. Jerick McKinnon was the last player to win AFC Offensive Player of the Month. He finished the season top 10, maybe even top 5 in touchdown catches. He had quite a second half last year, and that's kind of how the Chiefs use him, more so in the second half than early on. I don't know what Jerick McKinnon's workload is going to look like in the next couple of weeks. That'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. But in general, though, I think this is, Clyde, to answer your question, I don't know. He's young still, but he's got to stay healthy. I mean, availability is the best ability. You could be the best player at your position. If you're not available, it's not going to do you any good. It's not going to do your team any good. Yeah, Tony, I don't know, Kevin, off the top of my head. I mean, at least 3 or 4. Brad just rewatched it, said I thought it was 4 and the interception. Okay, so 5. Yeah, see, Bud is saying 5. Yeah. See, this is the thing with Pro Football Focus. I don't even know if they're worth, like, I still use their website for the podcast on Wednesday. But while doing all of this, in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, is this stuff really reliable? Because there's no way in hell. I mean, everyone watched the game last Thursday, even if you did not have a rooting interest, because it was the first game of the year. Um, Everyone knows the Chiefs had far more than 3 drops, and for Sky Moore to have 0 on the stat sheet, no, absolutely not. Eddie says, I believe KT will stop dropping them balls. What's your opinion, bro? Listen, it's just one bad game, okay? Okay, let's use Josh Allen as an example. Josh Allen committed 4 turnovers. I know a lot of Bills fans are looking at that saying, oh, it's just one game. No, it's not really just one game for Josh Allen. This is what happened last year for Josh Allen. Josh Allen led the NFL in turnovers by a wide margin. And we spent all of last offseason hearing all about, oh my God, Josh Allen is so great. The Buffalo Bills are invincible. They've got the best team on paper. They're on their way to a Super Bowl. Well, you couldn't even compete with the Bengals in that game. And they made excuses about the weather, which, that's what sore losers do in general. The Bengals did the same thing the following week. But man, it's just, to me, Kadarius Toney has not had games where he's had these kinds of drops before. It's just one game. If it happens again this week, yeah, I think we have to have a serious conversation about it. So I do think Eddie, yeah, he will bounce back for sure. Is everyone tired of hearing about Taylor Swift? Okay, let me say something about this, because I know a lot of people were criticizing Thursday Night Football as their initials being TNF, and people said, they went from TNF to TMZ. It's like, listen, man, a lot of people are going to be surprised by this kind of thing. So many times with athletes, when there is a non-football related topic, that dominates the conversation. I don't know how many of you guys here are baseball fans or are Kansas City Royals fans, but when the Royals were hot back in 2014, 2015, and for a little bit of 2016, even though they didn't make the playoffs in 2016, Eric Hosmer won the All-Star MVP that year. That's probably one of the very few sports where the All-Star game has some significant relevancy. But Eric Hosmer, he and Casey McDonald, there were rumors that they were dating, and then they made it official on Instagram by posting pictures of the two of them together, very, very close to each other. And I remember the Kansas City Star wrote about it on their website. It was the #1 story on the Kansas City Star's website. And I remember that was the same day Sam Brownback, the former Kansas governor, he made some controversial comment about the gay community. And that was like a national story too. Eric Hosmer and Casey McDonald dating was a bigger deal or more viewed story than Sam Brownback or anything else that was going on. Listen, Robert, you're over here bringing this up. You're the one commenting about it. So, and Robert, I love you. I do. I love everyone here. But, you are kind of bringing up the topic you're tired about. My point is, these non-sports related things, we just tend to remember these a lot easier. And by the way, I know what's going to happen. On the slim chance the Chiefs lose, everyone's going to blame Taylor Swift, right? Travis Kelce is hypnotized. He's distracted. Taylor Swift, has him around her finger, that kind of thing. Without 2 key guys, we did okay. Yes, they made mistakes, which human being doesn't look at. Okay, Thomas, you got maybe some autocorrect beat there. But your point is, yeah, the Chiefs lost by 1 without their second and third best players. Yes. Now, again, I still think that was a very winnable game without your second and third best players, 100%. But you're getting them back now. So you want to go out there and make a point? Go kick ass this week. I don't know how, and I know a lot of people are asking this. How many snaps is Chris Jones going to play? No one truly knows. You kind of got to ease him back into the fold. Maybe he picks up right where he left off last season. I don't know. But we'll have to see this Sunday. What's the history of your name? It's Persian. We'll leave it at that because I don't know how many people really want to hear so much about it. But yes. Dan says, when are we going to have a friendly conversation about the massive black border you keep photoshopping in posts? Somebody, first of all, there's a reason for that. It's not like a serious reason, but I'm not going to get into it. Somebody commented and said, why do you put a black border around Chris Jones? Are you doing that to make him look cheap because he wants money? I'm like, how does a black border around a player make someone look cheap, especially when I'm doing it for everybody? But yeah, I'm glad you're noticing, Dan. Thank you. Doug Peterson's strategy right now in MUT. What is MUT? I don't know what that is. This is the comment of the night from Bud. I wish Jackson would have got her. Jackson would have got who? Jackson Mahomes getting Taylor Swift? What? What are we talking about, Karen? I don't listen. You got to specify which Jackson. I hope you're not talking about Jackson Mahomes. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Yeah, I don't know. my first thought reading that is Jackson Mahomes and Taylor Swift. That would be quite the couple there, and I don't think they'd be a power couple. Look, guys, listen. When you're as good as the Chiefs are, the Chiefs have had a lot of offensive changes. They lost Doug Peterson. They lost Matt Nagy. I mean, they technically didn't lose Eric Bieniemy. He took a parallel job for personal reasons because a lot of people think he needs to prove himself outside of this system, which I guess I get it. Listen, Belichick went through this on both sides of the ball. He's even gone through this on special teams a few times. When you're as great as the Patriots and the Chiefs, which, you know, I know the Chiefs have only won a couple of Super Bowls. It doesn't compare to the Patriots dynasty, at least not yet. But the amount of victories they've had the last few years, yeah, I mean, people are after those assistant coaches. Here's one thing to keep in mind. This is Andy Reid's offense. This is not it never was Eric Bieniemy's offense. This is not Matt Nagy's offense. This was never Doug Peterson's offense. This has always been an Andy Reid operation. This has always been an Andy Reid design here. It's always been like that. For those of you who've been longtime listeners of the podcast, I've had Dan Shanka on my podcast many times. For those of you who don't know Dan, he used to be a scout in the NFL and in college. He scouted for the Chiefs under Dick Vermeil once. He also scouted for KU football. He also scouted for Andy Reid in Philadelphia. And I asked him this one time because, you know, the criticism around Andy Reid for so long is what is with his play calling in tight situations in the postseason. And I asked Dan, I'm like, you know, he's a great head coach, but why does he not just hand off play calling duties? And his response to me was, that's just the way Andy's done it his entire career. I'm like, okay, a point taken. I mean, this is a guy that's actually been around Andy Reid. So anyone that's actually been there behind closed doors, I will take their word to the bank any day of the week. So listen, Andy Reid is a great play caller, but there are times in really crucial situations, waning stages of a game, it's like, what the hell are we doing? I just like last week, the handoff to Rice, like, what the hell is that? Listen, here's the thing with trick plays. If they work in weird situations, then the coach is a genius. He's got big balls, and the players are awesome for executing it. If it fails, well, the players are going to get crucified for it. The coaches are definitely going to hear about it from everyone in the stadium. If it's the home crowd right there, and a lot of Chiefs fans definitely let the coaches know about it after that failed attempt. So, listen, the Chiefs have a lot of great players. Again, you know, if drops were not an issue, you're not going to find yourself in that weird situation. So, Andy Reid's got a lot of fast guys on this team, right? I don't need to go over it because I've gone over it many times with you guys. But the thing to keep in mind is, if the Chiefs play their game, and I've said this so many times in the past, if the Chiefs just play their game, especially on the offensive side of the ball, it's going to be hard for them to lose. There's a reason why the Chiefs have the most wins and the fewest losses since 2015. and even more so since Patrick Mahomes took over for Alex Smith. Chiefs have won even more games. That's no accident. I know a lot of people say, oh, well, Mahomes is only good because he had Tyreek Hill for most of his career and he has Travis Kelce. Okay, but Alex Smith got to play with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce for 2 years, and they never won a playoff game. You switch to Mahomes, and all of a sudden this team wins. What's their playoff record with Mahomes? 11-3, I think, off the top of my head. That's no accident there. And listen, I love Alex Smith. I know this guy cannot catch a break with his leg injury and what's going on with his daughter right now. So all the best to him. But as far as on the field, there was a ceiling with Alex Smith. There's a reason why they drafted Patrick Mahomes. And there's a reason why the Chiefs have started winning more playoff games with Patrick Mahomes. That's no accident there. It's just ultimately at the end of the day, I lost my train of thought where I was going with this, but I think my point in general is the Chiefs are a hard team to stop. The Lions, the things that you saw the Lions do, very few defenses have done to the Chiefs to try to rattle them like that and hold them to 20 points. You don't see that often. Stone Cold Jones just posted in his story. This is interesting. Let's see what he posted. Oh, it's just him smoking a cigar. Cool. Yeah, I haven't paid too much attention to Chris Jones's social media now that we've gotten that taken care of. You think so, Kevin? You think Nagy was calling the plays week 1? I think it was still Andy Reid. I do. By the way, if Eric Bieniemy was still here and that handoff to Rice happened, everyone would just get on Eric Bieniemy for it. Because, a lot of Chiefs fans just feel like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they're all above criticism. No, I mean, listen, they're awesome. They've done so many great things for this franchise, but when they screw up, I think it needs to be criticized just as fairly as you would for Kadarius Toney. I mean, look at the heat he's taken. And it sucks because it was a Thursday night game, so you have a 10-day window between then and the next game. So, but I think they'll figure it out this week for sure. They're all awesome. Too early to say. We need to see them in week 6. Yeah, listen, I think by like week 4, that's when you have a good idea about who's good and who's not. And then you'll have a team that just chokes in the second half. And there's a team that surges and kind of makes a comeback and has a shot or even makes the playoffs when you least expect it. So week 4 is kind of like my magic week, where you can really start to judge and say who's good and who's not. Mahomes is a $500 million asset, so you can't be doing that shit. Yeah, no, you're 100% right, Brad. You have the quarterback that a lot of people wish they have, and to waste opportunities like that, yeah, that's certainly a wasted opportunity last week. I was a student at Rock Creek Elementary, and we used to play Blue Valley a lot back in the late 70s and early 80s. They had a good team then. Yeah, I think even in the 90s, Blue Valley's always been like a really competitive football school. I would cover some Blue Valley football games. Dude, I mean, they're like super into it's like very close to a college atmosphere almost. Like it is insane. I mean, and that school's been around a long time. So now you have like generations, grandparents, parents, kids all going to the same high school, Blue Valley. So it becomes a thing. Whereas schools like Blue Valley West and Blue Valley Southwest, they have not been around that long. So, because when I went to Blue Valley West, my freshman year was 2005, and the school was only 4 years old at the time. It was very new. So, yeah, I know even in like the southern and western parts of Olathe, they've got newer schools in that region of good old Johnson County. Let's talk about Johnson County, shall we? By the way, I think when Marty Schottenheimer was the head coach of the Chiefs, I think his son was the quarterback of Blue Valley, wasn't he, in the 90s? Or am I thinking of somebody else? I'm almost certain Brian Schottenheimer was the quarterback of Blue Valley. Have you played Final Fantasy VII? Oh, here we go. Now we're getting way off topic. But I'll take a Final Fantasy question. Have you played Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis? Have I beat 16 yet? I have not beat 16 yet. I'm taking forever. You know what's funny is when Quarterback came out on Netflix, because I had surgery like right after 16 came out, and Quarterback came out on July the 12th. The only reason I remember that is because I stayed home for 2 weeks after my surgery, and my thought was I'm going to beat Final Fantasy 16 before Quarterback comes out, and I'm not even close to beating it. I've been pretty damn lazy. Madden Ultimate Team. Oh, you said Mutt earlier, Eric. Okay, gotcha. Fire Nagy, Cincinnati Bunghole says. Thoughts on rule change based on our offensive linemen? Did it give a tell for our offensive plays? Yeah, a lot of people are saying this. So again, I was at the stadium. So again, bad Wi-Fi, didn't really have a chance to read the reactions in real time. So listen, when you're at the stadium, you're having fun. You maybe get distracted looking somewhere. You're talking to the person next to you. All that good stuff. Yeah. You have a drink or two, maybe more. Yeah, it's just, to me, he's done that. You're obviously referring to Jawan Taylor, Robert. He did that in the past with the Jaguars, and Nick Wright the next morning brought up Lane Johnson, and he does it. And I look back at some of the tape on Lane Johnson. Yeah, he absolutely does. He was doing it last night, 100% doing it last night. So, by the way, it's always interesting, like, when something happens on prime time, that's when people all of a sudden like make a big deal about, like Jawan Taylor and the pre-snap and the snap stuff. It's a big deal because it happened on prime time. Aaron Rodgers suffering his Achilles injury happened on prime time. So because it happened on prime time, all of a sudden everyone's talking about turf versus natural grass. It's like, what if this was a noon kickoff game? It would still be a huge deal that he got injured. But would it be at this magnitude? I don't know. I remember when Patrick Mahomes, when he suffered his injury against the Jaguars in the playoffs, the ankle injury, I was listening on ESPN radio a couple of days after that, and the topic came up, and I didn't realize this was a thing nationally. I was kind of oblivious to it for like 48 to 72 hours, but I guess there was a big deal about landing on a quarterback's ankle. And to me, it's like, why is this now a thing? Because it happened on prime time or in the playoffs. In this case, it's like, I don't like that things are exacerbated and blown up all because they happen on prime time or in a playoff game or to an elite player. If this was Zach Wilson, would we be talking about natural grass versus turf? Hell no. People would say, okay, Zach Wilson's out. Prayers to him. Hope he recovers. So usually when these kinds of things happen, again, the Eagles with their quarterback sneaks, it was even brought up last night on the broadcast. If you guys saw it on Amazon Prime, those things always become a big deal when they happen on prime time. Jackson looked good at the U.S. Open tennis. Who would have thought? Who's? I'm sorry, guys. I don't watch tennis. Who's Jackson? Everyone's talking about Jackson in the live stream. The only Jackson I can think of is Jackson Mahomes, which is kind of a sad thing, but oh well. Andy Reid killed me last week. Run the ball, get a field goal. Yeah, again, it's just not his MO. Very rarely have we seen Andy Reid go run heavy since his time here in Kansas City. Even with Alex Smith, people thought Alex Smith, there was a ceiling with him, and people still would go out there and you would watch the games. They would still throw the ball with Alex Smith. I'd like to see them do it more with Isaiah Pacheco, because I think this guy really does have something unique that you haven't had since Kareem Hunt. Even with Kareem Hunt, you would still pass heavy. Reed needs to cut the cute stuff and be more aggressive. Okay, see, this is what I was saying earlier, though. If it works, we're not saying this. Are we, Cincinnati Bungholes? We're not saying any of that. But because they didn't work, we're criticizing him. Get rid of the cute stuff. Stop the trick plays. Stick to just normal play calls. Trick plays are really hard to judge because, again, obviously they're gutsy play calls, and everything needs to almost go right in order for them to work. Otherwise, you're going to be hearing about it from everyone. We're stacked. Ross needs to be in. Derek says, yeah, Justin Ross. And by the way, I don't know how this came off on TV, but when Justin Ross, he only had one catch last week. When he had his catch, and when the PA announcer announced his name, there were some cheers from the crowd. Again, I don't know if that came off well through TV. It wasn't like a 142.2 decibels type of cheer, but there were a lot of people that cheered for that catch more than most of the receptions all game long. For a short reception, that got a solid ovation. Now, this is his first real football game in almost 2 years. So I think the Chiefs are just trying to ease him back into the fold because he's been out of action for a very long time. So again, you were hearing this conversation with Chris Jones is that, they want to ease him back into the fold this week. So he might not play as many snaps as he would normally had he been with the team since training camp. So, I want to see Justin Ross just as much as you do, Derek, and so does every single Chiefs fan. So, we'll have to wait and see. After week 4, if Justin Ross is not getting more snaps, I would question that. I really would. Dan says, do you think the deep pass is becoming extinct? Fun fact, in 2022, number of passes over 15 yards was lowest since 2006, and that trend continued in week 1. Thoughts? Also, Tyreek Hill is on pace to have 3,655 yards this year. Yes. I remember the United States men's national team in a World Cup game. I can't remember what year it was, but they scored a goal 30 seconds into the game. And I think Joe Posnanski put out a tweet saying the United States is on pace to win this game 30-0. It's like, listen, Tyreek Hill will obviously have a few quieter games, so to say. But he said he wants 2,000 yards. He's on pace to get it. But as far as your question about the passing game being extinct, you mentioned the number of passes over 15 yards was the lowest. I think you're talking about the Chiefs, not the NFL in general. Because, yes, the Chiefs did not have a lot of those deep passes last year. Let me pull this up with the Chiefs and look at last year's numbers. Let's see. Oh, that is not what I wanted to see. Bear with me, guys, one moment, because I want to look at last year's stats and see what the longest play was. I think who had the longest reception for the Chiefs last year? I don't think it was Travis Kelce. Mahomes' longest pass was for 67. And who the hell was that to? MVS, I want to say. No, Justin Watson. Okay, I would have never guessed Justin Watson. MVS had a 57-yard catch. That was the second biggest. Jerick McKinnon had 56. That was the third biggest. Let me do one other stat research. Bear with me, guys. Does ESPN still have the big pass plays? No. So I got to go to NFL.com, and I hate NFL.com. NFL.com's stats used to be so organized. They changed their website a few years ago, and it honestly looks like dog shit, in my opinion. Okay, so passes of 40-plus yards. Mahomes still led the NFL in that category. Okay, I'm kind of surprised. I didn't even think about that. So when it came to passes of 20-plus yards, Mahomes led the NFL with 73. Jared Goff was number 2 with 57. When it came to passes of 40-plus, Mahomes led the NFL with 13. Josh Allen right behind him with 12. Jared Goff also had 12. Tua had 12, and he missed a lot of games. Wow, that's impressive. Jalen Hurts, Russell Wilson had 11. Joe Burrow and Kirk Cousins and Ryan Tannehill had 10. Brady had 8. Carr had 8. Okay, you get the idea. Okay, well, I was going to make a point, but I guess it's not really my point's not going to be made here. So Mahomes' longest pass was 67 yards. He had several players ahead of him in that one. Mahomes is not even in the okay, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 players were ahead of Patrick Mahomes for longest pass of the year. Josh Allen had the longest, 98, Tua 84, Jared Goff 81, Zach Wilson 79, Gardner Minshew 78, David Blau. How many people could say who David Blau played for last year? David Blau 77. Okay, I'm done. Anyway, the reason I'm doing all this, guys, is because last year the criticism around Patrick Mahomes was that he did not have a lot of touchdown passes beyond like 5, 10, 15 yards because he had all those shovel passes and all those cute plays and all that. But yet at the end of the day, no one had more passes of 20 plus yards and 40 plus yards than Mahomes. Let me just see what it is for this year. Obviously, I mean, week one stats are not anything to compare, but I'm just curious to see what he had for week one. Kirk Cousins, my God. I mean, I know they played one more game than everyone else already, but still, he has 11. Tua has 8. Patrick Mahomes had only 4. Patrick Mahomes did not have a pass over 40 plus. Or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, did not. I think there was one to Justin Ross that could have been a 40 plus, but it was a pass interference instead. But okay, yeah. Because the criticism with Mahomes is that, he didn't have a lot of deep pass touchdown passes last year, yet he still had more big plays than anyone else. Patrick Mahomes did not have Tyreek Hill, and he led the NFL in touchdown passes, led the NFL in passing yards, led the NFL in completions of 20 plus and 40 plus yards, and he damn near won the MVP unanimously. So, yeah, Dan, that was a very long answer to your question that I honestly didn't even answer. To answer your question, no, I don't even think it's extinct. I really don't. We're in a pass-heavy league. There are very few teams that are a run-first team, and I don't even really know if the Titans are that kind of team anymore. Obviously, early to tell, but you just don't see it often. Desmond says, don't be a bandwagon for fan. Alex Smith won KC first playoff game in 20. I said that, Desmond. I said Alex Smith won his first playoff game in 20 years. But what was his playoff record? And not all of it was his fault. The Colts one certainly was not on him, although I do question why the offense kind of froze in the fourth quarter. But you can't deny, Desmond, that there was a ceiling without. Why did the Chiefs draft Patrick Mahomes then when they had Alex Smith already? There was a reason for that. The season's young, so are a lot of our new players. Chiefs will bounce back strong. Yeah, I feel that way. Man, I just would have really loved. I think Patrick Mahomes made his point, but obviously without a win, it's hard to say that. Because all this talk about, he only wins because he has Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Well, they just won a Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill. He won the MVP I just mentioned almost unanimously. So in general, it's like, people think that he just benefits from everything around him. Yet, the team has been better since they went from Smith to Mahomes. All right, guys, I'll read a couple more and get out of here. You guys enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Do you think Ross' previous injuries will affect his play or game this year? Yeah, this is a really good question, Kate. I think a season like this is going to be important for Ross's health. Maybe Ross does not have the monster season he wants. Maybe this is a season where he just gradually gets back into the fold. I know that's not what any Chiefs fan wants to hear. Maybe you only do it with a couple of games for him. I don't know what the Chiefs' plans are specifically with him. But everyone wants to see him go off. I mean, there's a lot of hype, a lot of talk surrounding Justin Ross. Even the team can't really deny it at this point. Brett Veach kind of brought it up in the preseason broadcast and said that he knows that there are a lot of expectations from him. So, I'm not sure exactly, when is Justin Ross going to have his first game where he has a lot of significant snaps. And then after that, when is his first big game going to be where he shows up on the stat sheet and makes big plays? When is all of that going to happen? It's hard to say. I don't know. I think they're going to ease him back into things. I think by week 4 or 5, you can start to expect him to play more. I mean, you kind of need that. You didn't get any of the wide receivers you were hoping for. No Odell Beckham Jr., no DeAndre Hopkins. So you're really banking on guys like Kadarius Toney and Justin Ross to stay healthy and live up to the hype. Guys like Rashee Rice and Sky Moore, they're recent second-round picks. Rice is a rookie, and Sky Moore was drafted last year. And look, I know a lot of people are like, oh, Brett Veach is terrible at drafting receivers. Sky Moore was low on the depth chart last year because you were behind Juju and MVS, and Travis Kelce is the primary pass catcher. So I don't know how people can judge Sky Moore when he was already low on the depth chart to begin with when it came to the pass catching department last year. So again, there's a lot of potential, but a lot of what ifs with these receivers. And, at the end of the day, you just, you gotta wait and see with that kind of thing. I love Pat. Sorry, I thought you said Alex Smith never won a playoff game. No, what I said was, no, it's all good, Desmond. Misunderstanding, it happens. What I said was Alex Smith never won a playoff game with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce together. The playoff game he did win was in 2015, right before they drafted Tyreek Hill. My whole point with that was, people still don't want to give Patrick Mahomes credit for everything. And they're saying, oh, it's because of the system around him. Well, Alex Smith was here, and he did not have the success, especially in the postseason, that Mahomes has. And again, that's not meant to shit on Alex Smith in any way. I know it comes off like that. The point is, I just don't understand why people are criticizing Patrick Mahomes for having all this talent around him. But this year, there's not much of it. People have even said the Chiefs don't have a lot of great receivers. Same thing last year, and he still won the MVP award. But ultimately, with Patrick Mahomes, let me say this too, because people don't ever talk about this. In Patrick Mahomes' first year as a starter in 2018, Tyreek Hill broke the franchise record for single-season receiving yards, and Travis Kelce broke the NFL record for most receiving yards in a season by a tight end. Now, 30 seconds later, George Kittle broke that record, so it didn't stand for very long. But 2 years later, they got the record back for Travis Kelce. So all these things, Tyreek Hill getting the single season yardage record in franchise history, and Travis Kelce getting the NFL record for most yards in the season by a tight end, not once but twice, all happened with Patrick Mahomes. Alex Smith did some great things. Listen, Alex Smith came in here. He really helped turn a 2-14 team into a 9-0 start. I know that season did not end the way any of us wanted to end. But the things that Alex Smith did to help turn this team around should not be forgotten. He won a lot of football games for us. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, the postseason struggles there was a ceiling there. There just was. And I think you're seeing all of that. Derek says, need to run the ball more. Yeah, I agree, Derek. Derek, no one's disagreeing with you one bit. But it's just not something you're going to see often with Andy Reid. Even in the fourth quarter when the Chiefs have a lead, that's not what they do. Remember the game against the Bengals when Travis Kelce fumbled? Not the AFC Championship game, but the regular season game. That fumble was a big turning point. And, should Travis Kelce have fumbled? No, of course not. But even, go back further, and Andy Reid kind of took the blame for this. He even said, he should have called something else in that situation. Yeah, like a run play. Especially when you have Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon and just how well they were playing in the second half for the Chiefs offense. Obviously those guys were not 1,000-yard rushers by any means, but they were doing enough to gain a lot of favor from Chiefs fans, moving the chains, moving the football, getting close to the end zone, sometimes getting to the end zone themselves. So Yeah, it can be frustrating when Andy Reid doesn't do that to close the game. Or not even just to close the game, just to compete, even in some situations. I think Stone Cold is in shape. Man, I remember when Stone Cold was there for that Ronald McDonald charity thing on Red Wednesday, the day before the Thursday night game last week. He looked like he was in really good shape. I was actually pretty impressed with how he looked. He actually looked like he had maybe lost a little bit of weight there and put on some more muscle. He still looks huge. He still looks huge. Don't get me wrong. When you're an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman, you can still lose fat and gain muscle and still look pretty big and even look like you're in better shape. There are actually some fantastic resources about that kind of thing. If anyone is trying to do that type of thing for weight loss, I've done that in the past before, and it does make a difference. But yeah, I mean, I think Stone Cold, I'm sure he's in shape. I'm sure he's in phenomenal shape. He looks like it. Is he in football shape, though? That is different. We'll find out this Sunday. Even Spags alluded to this a couple of weeks ago when the question was, hey, if Chris Jones shows up the week of the Lions game, can he play? And Spags was like, yeah, I'm sure he's in shape, but he's got to be in great shape, football shape. I'll do one or two more here because I'm caught up on the comments here. Derek says, why are we talking about Hill? He's gone. Proved it wasn't him. No, you're right. Now, listen, I'm seeing it all over the internet right now amongst Chiefs fans. Chiefs fans don't like it when the announcers bring up Tyreek Hill for Chiefs games. But I'm seeing a lot of Chiefs fans say that they miss Tyreek Hill. And these same Chiefs fans are going to complain about the announcing. They just will. All right. That is the last comment. So I'm going to wrap things up in a moment. I'm going 31-27 KC this week. Hey, real quickly, let me take all of this off because there's a lot going on here. I don't want my headphones, the wire to get tangled up here. I'm going to do a little bit of a show and tell here, but I just got this in the mail. And I have a lot of these. So we're going to be doing some giveaways soon. It's actually pretty cool. I got to give a big shout out to my dad because he found this. And he showed me a picture of it. The picture looked cool. In person, it just looks even better. We're going to have some new giveaways soon. I hope you guys love it. I hope you got a lot of people that are going to enter to try to win these. We're going to start giving away some of these soon. It's not autographed or anything, but it looks pretty damn cool for your fan cave, living room. If you got kids that would maybe want this in their room, this is a pretty cool painting. I don't know the artist, but it is licensed by the NFL. It's got the NFLPA logo. You can't really see it. No, you can't really see it. It's got the NFL license on here, and you got the hologram sticker there. So it is NFL license. Okay, that is a horrible angle I'm showing. It's awesome. This looks really fucking cool. So I hope you guys think it's just as cool. We're obviously doing a different giveaway right now. We're doing one of the rolling coolers. I still have a lot of the bags and a lot of the rolling coolers. I still have the Red Wednesday flags. I still have a couple left. So I don't know what you guys want. I might even just do a poll and see what you guys think. So we will figure that out next Tuesday night. I'll let you guys vote on that. So Tuesday around like 9:00, once I announce the giveaway winners for the current giveaway we have, I'll do a little poll with you guys. You guys decide what the next giveaway will be. So and by the way, I'll try to do these on Facebook, but unfortunately we get restricted sometimes on these things, and I definitely don't want to jeopardize any of that. But Derek, Casey, Elaine, Desmond, Brad, so many others who commented throughout the live stream. Dan, another Raymond, Cincinnati Bungholds, Greg, Robert, Eric, Andros, Bud, all of you guys, Eddie. I don't want to forget anyone. Kevin, Karen, John, Thomas. I want to make a point to not forget anyone. I think Perry, Kel, Mikey, Heather. I think that's everyone. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for all the comments. We are out. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Peace out.